When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Skims or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/income.
Hi everyone, I'm Deb Flashenberg. Welcome to Yoga, Birth, Babies, a podcast produced by Prenatal Yoga Center. We will be diving into everything prenatal yoga, birth, and baby related, hoping to inspire, educate, and empower you through your journey into motherhood. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Deb Flashenberg, and I'm your host of Yoga Birth Babies. And today we're going to talk about the pediatrician-parent relationship and the impact of information overload. There is so much information coming at you as a parent from everywhere, from social media to friends and family and things you hear online and maybe something you read in the newspaper. And it can feel very overwhelming of who to trust and then how to talk to your pediatrician about this. So it's funny. I actually had the idea to have this conversation from a TV show, and I talk about this in the conversation with Dr. Wendy. I was watching this show called The Pit, and I was obsessed with it. So to kind of give you the lowdown on it, it is a show, I think it's on HBO Max, and it is a day in the life of an emergency department in Pittsburgh. And at one of the storylines, there is a parent who is a bit confrontational with the doctor about the medical advice that they're giving her. And she's looking to her phone and saying, but online it says this. And the doctor's saying, I'm trying to give you what I know to be from, I think it was like 20 years as a doctor. And that was what was inspiring to look into how social media and this information overload impacts our trust in care providers. And I wanted specifically to focus on pediatricians because I know as a community, that is what you are interested in. So I reached out to Dr. Wendy Hunter. She's actually been on the podcast before. She and I have a lovely relationship. She's kind of my go-to for any pediatrician question. And so she was really excited to jump on and also unpack this conversation. So we dive into how to make a strong, supportive pediatrician-parent relationship. And then also how she works with parents that come to her when she may have some misinformation or is just anxious in general about what they're learning online. It's such a great and important topic because we just get bombarded as parents with all this endless parenting advice. So let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Wendy. So Wendy Hunter, MD, is a pediatrician in San Diego, California. She rounds on newborns at Scripps Hospital, and her podcast, The Pediatrician Next Door, mixes the science of medicine with the realities of parenting. And side note, I was a guest on her podcast. She's absolutely delightful. She incorporates integrative therapies into her practice. One of her most interesting episodes explores the mysteries of human milk and explains what researchers have discovered about the health benefits of HMO molecules. So I say keep going over, listen to her podcast. She's got some great stuff. So I think you're going to get a lot out of this conversation, as well as maybe just give you some clarification of how to connect with your pediatrician to build a trusting relationship. Now, before we get to my conversation with Dr. Wendy, I always love to give updates about what's happening at Prenatal Yoga Center. So as always, I say head to our website because you're going to have the most updated everything from our schedule to our workshops, to our teacher trainings, to our online and in-person classes. Everything lives there. And as we head into the summer months, things are still going strong. We're going to soon be starting our fall prenatal yoga teacher training. We do 4 a year, 3 online and 1 in person. And I can't believe we're heading back into that world of teacher training. So check all that out on our website, prenatalyogacenter.com, as well as a big celebration that we're having. So, Prenatal Yoga Center in August turns 23 years old. I know, it's crazy. I was just a baby when I started the studio, but it's crazy to look back and think of all the thousands and thousands of families that have passed through our doors. I just smile because so many people pop into my mind. I still remember some of my first students. It was, wow, what an honor. So this really just a thank you to the community, for being part of our community and allowing us into your lives during this really special time. So thank you for that. And I do have a favor to ask of you. Please leave a rating and review so that people can find the podcast and become part of our community. All right, that's enough about me. Let's take a super quick break. When we come back, please enjoy my conversation with Dr. Wendy Hunter.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love, starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
Hi, Dr. Wendy. Welcome back. I'm really excited to chat with you again.
Me too. I really enjoyed our last conversation.
Absolutely. So I reached out to you and I shared this already, but I'll let the community know. I was watching this show, The Pit. If you haven't seen it, folks out there, highly recommend. I think it's on HBO Max. And there was this scene where a mom had her phone and she was saying, well, online they say this, and the doctor was doing his best not to lose his mind. Said something else about this disinformation. So I thought, I need to do a podcast about that. And that is why I reached out to you. So thank you for coming on here as a pediatrician and as a parent and as an expert in this. So let's jump into, and people can hear a little bit about from your last conversation we had.
Let me just say too, I totally agree. And I'm so glad you called me because I feel like I need to debrief on this topic because, the few seconds that happen between a doctor and a parent, like there's so much nuance to it that there's a lot to break down in terms of like the emotion that's there and the facts in the world and everything we're being bombarded with. So I'm really excited to really dig in with this topic.
So let's start with a little bit about you. Just share a little bit about yourself and what led you to becoming a pediatrician.
I'm a pediatrician, obviously, and I am also a parent. So I bring that perspective as well. And I really understand how it feels to have that uncertainty and fear and anxiety that goes along with parenting every step of the way. And for your audience in particular, I did have a premature infant, so I know what that's like as well. And I started my career working in the emergency department at a pediatric hospital, and now I'm in primary practice. So I've got this broad range of experience in different settings. So that's where I come from. And I'll probably get into this as well, but I was a patient myself in my teens. And so it's really important to me to really work with patients because I know how the uncertainty of medicine can be so challenging.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. And thank you for really giving that broad, let's try that one again. Thank you. And thank you for giving that broad explanation of your background, because I think people will better understand where you're coming from. So let's jump into what you think makes a strong, supportive pediatrician-parent relationship. Because like you said, you're on both sides of this.
Yeah. And I think a lot of your listeners have younger kids. So on their mind has to be looking for a pediatrician. So I can also talk about what things you want to look for, but I think there's two really crucial pieces of that relationship between your pediatricians and the parents. And that is, one is that you should always feel safe to say anything or ask anything without judgment. And that is really challenging because you can just read in a doctor's face that they're like, all right, what is this crazy person going to say? So you're looking for someone who's just open-minded, someone who responds, why don't you tell me more about that? Rather than just shutting you down. So I think that safety piece is really important. And then the other one is that we need to recognize that, yes, I am an absolute expert in medicine. I know a lot about medicine, but you know more about your child than I will ever know. And so a doctor who recognizes that parents know their child best is also a really important component of a strong relationship.
Oh, I love that. But can I also pick your brain a little bit about what you were saying about even finding a pediatrician? Can we go a little bit into that too? And I know I promise I'll keep us
Yeah.
on topic, but I do think that's important because as people are looking, they might not even know what to look for and how to create that relationship.
Yeah, I have a lot of patients who find me, because I'm vegan, because I practice some alternative medicine, and they find me and then realize that I am like an hour and a half drive away and might not be the best choice. So, one of the most important things is to pick someone who is convenient,
Mm.
especially those early. You remember you went for a 2 month, a
All
4
the
month, a six
time.
month, all the time. You're like, live at the doctor's office. So you need it to be really convenient. So location, number one, but also call. And if you're on hold for like 45 minutes trying to make an appointment, maybe pick someone else, or find out if your doctor uses a portal or something like that you can book appointments, or even text or email the office. So access is the most important thing. And then the other is, ask your friends who they like. That's a great way too, just to find out who is a good doctor.
Yeah, that's actually how we got our pediatrician when I lived in the city. And I was thinking about those early days because we did a home birth. So we had to go often for, just check in. And then we did kind of a spread out vaccination schedule. So I felt like we were always there. So thank you for putting that thing in about location.
Yeah.
All right. So let's jump in a little bit more now to Dr. Gould. So how have you seen the pediatrician parent relationship change as people are going to Google more for their answers to medical questions?
I mean, to be really vulnerable here, it is very unsettling that we don't feel trusted anymore because there's
Mm.
so much information out there that parents are finding on their own. And there's almost this antagonistic relationship now with doctors. And we're really good-hearted people. We are only in this because we want to help people. So that's really challenging when people do come in and with a challenging attitude, like, well, I found this. So just reaching that point where you're like, hold on, we need to trust each other. I am going to listen to you, and we're going to have a conversation. Not that necessarily I'm, as a doctor, coming from a point of like, you're going to walk in the store and I'm going to make you do what I want you to do. There needs to be a conversation. So that's, I don't know where this came from, but it's definitely the political environment of some sort and the social environment and having social media that has all these external voices now that are just crowding out that very private relationship with your doctor. And, I would say too, like sometimes I feel, and I'm being vulnerable here again, like there are 12 people standing in between me and my patient
Mhm.
telling us what we can and can't do. And it's insurance companies and laws. And that relationship just really needs to be distilled back down to, I am here to take care of you and you can trust me. And what do you need from me?
Oh, I really appreciate that. What do you do when people come in with conflicting advice, like is really blatantly wrong?
So again, I have to like calm down and say, okay, this is a conversation. And if they have information that I know is blatantly wrong, it's hard for us as pediatricians because we want what's best for the child. And sometimes we do know what's best for the child. But yes, when a parent comes in and they have information that conflicts with what I think is probably best medical practice, that's when I have to get curious. And that's what we all need to do. If you're in a situation where you're like angry at the guy at the tire store because he's giving you information, like we need to stop and be curious about about everything. Where does this antagonism come from? So I start with my curiosity. And if a parent brings in something that I'm not sure about, I say, tell me what you read. What stood out about it to you and what did it make you think of? And that's where I start the conversation. It's not a
Right.
debate, it's a conversation.
Yeah, and probably get to, if I'm kind of just digging into that curiosity more,
Mhm.
what led them to maybe want to believe that and what might they be hoping could be approached differently if it's not something they've already do. I'm guessing there has to be a reason they've attached themselves to this information.
That is very adept and smart of you. Yes. And this is a skill that I learned working in the emergency room because, if a patient comes in at 3:00 in the morning and they have like a fever, which is not an emergency, you got to start with that curiosity piece. Like, what is bringing you here? And oftentimes I'll find that, a fear about vaccines is really just they have a cousin who has autism or a cousin with cancer or an aunt with cancer. And that's what's on their mind. And so, to ask like, what really is making you nervous about this? Like, why are you looking for this information? Yeah.
Is that what you're seeing most of the conflicting advice or information about is from vaccinations?
Yeah, it really is. It's really the root of most of the conflict we have right now. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I actually had, this is naive of me. That is not where I thought. I thought it would just be like, I don't know, fevers or just other concoctions of like, oh, this is supposed to like, okay, here's one. And people that have listened will probably laugh. So this is going to, I work with pregnant folks and I had a student, was it a student or teacher trainer? I think it was a student who said she really wanted to test negative for GPS. So she put garlic up her vagina and
it's awesome. Okay.
I know. And then explained it was hard to get out. I'm like, I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
I guess I thought it was more like home remedies like that. But vaccinations make sense. But are you hearing any, I guess, especially with the measles right now is a vaccination situation where they're like, oh, vitamin A. But are you also finding some of these like do-it-yourself things, remedies? I mean, hopefully no one's putting garlic anywhere.
It's a great question. I think a lot of parents don't tell us and we need to ask. They know that it's a little off brand. So they may not mention it to an allopathic physician. That's a good point. I'm probably completely in the dark.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me now want to dig in and be like, what are the things people are doing to keep their kids healthy? So let's also talk a little bit about all the parenting advice, because kind of leads to that, maybe dig in and see what's out there. But we do live in this age of endless parenting advice. I feel like it's coming from everywhere. And so many times I just want to shut my eyes. So how do you recommend parents filter through it all without becoming overwhelmed?
Oh, that's so challenging. I do have a couple of tips. Probably my number one tip is to be thoughtful about where the information is coming from. So if you're looking at a website, you really want one that's academic or a .org, but you still need to be skeptical, about that because there are so many organizations out there that have an agenda. So if you're filtering through, I have one other thing to say, and this is going to get a little, frou-frou here, but
okay.
Our brains like to look for information that confirm what we already think.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're looking on the internet, you're looking for something and you're not going to stop until you find something that you're like, okay, there's my proof. So you're not really finding proof. You're finding proof of what you already believe. So you do need to look at a lot of sources. You need to distill it down and choose sources that are reliable. So like the American Academy of Pediatrics, they're not out there to do anything harmful to children. The other thing is there is a website specifically speaking to vaccine information that is a clearinghouse for whether a site is good or not, and it's called vaccineinformation.org. So that's one I like. And then if you're going to TikTok, you have to think, like, if you are willing to get your medical advice from like the person in front of you in line at the grocery store, then you can get your advice from TikTok. But if you don't want that random person, if you don't want that rando in front of you to give you advice, like you need to not take advice from Instagram or TikTok, although I am on Instagram. So I guess you should listen to me, but not other people. I don't know what I'm saying there. Here's the most important thing though. And that is that if you see a site that has an all or nothing attitude towards a medical topic, that should raise your attention. So if I, as a physician, and I know a ton of stuff, if I present something to you, I am pretty much always going to give you both sides of any topic. If I say, okay, we should start these antibiotics for your child's ear infection. However, if you want to give it one more day and just see if it clears up on its own, that's fine. So I'm not giving you an all or nothing. I'm not saying you have to take these antibiotics. I'm like, what, let's work together. Let's figure this out. That is how all decisions should be made. So if you're on a website looking for information about a medical issue, you really shouldn't ever see you need to do this. You should see a little bit of back and forth. And I think that's a good site to look for.
The antibiotics, I can imagine, is kind of along with the vaccinations. Do you feel like people push back on antibiotics? Because I remember hearing, don't overdo the antibiotics.
Yeah.
And my husband was always nervous about that. What are your thoughts on that? Do people come up with their own reasons for either taking or not taking them?
Absolutely. This is a really big hot topic. I wish more parents would be hesitant about taking antibiotics because I think we get a lot more pressure to give antibiotics when we know a child has a virus and doesn't need antibiotics. And I think it comes from a place of fear. You need to treat my child. They have a fever, do something. And waiting and watching the child and giving them fluids and Tylenol is like not enough of doing something. So yeah, unfortunately, I wish more people were thoughtful about like asking me, okay, you're recommending amoxicillin. Can you tell me why the child needs to take amoxicillin? And is there another option? Because it's okay to have your doctor walk through their thinking,
So yeah, no, my husband is definitely that. I think because he felt he had too many antibiotics as a kid.
He probably did.
Yeah, for like every ear infection, there was an antibiotic given to him. And so I think he's been really hesitant about that. In fact, my son had Lyme disease. We had to do, I think it was a month of antibiotics. And we were both like, okay, I guess we have to do this. But we took that seriously.
You do. There are conditions where your doctor will say, you know what, you do. You got to take it. I'm sorry. And some where they'll say, yeah, I don't know. But I mean, we need to save our gut microbiome. It is there for a reason. And when we take antibiotics, it kills all those fantastic bacteria that live inside of us.
All right. So I want to take a break, but when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about social media and how that might be hurting your relationship with your patients. All right. We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Liquid IV. When you hydrate with Liquid IV, you're powered by Hydroscience. Hydroscience is Liquid IV's science-backed formula with an optimized ratio of electrolytes, vitamins, and nutrients. Experience great-tasting hydration for mental clarity, physical endurance, and overall well-being. Sip into something that up-levels every moment. Liquid IV. Tear, pour, live more. Visit us at liquidiv.com.
It's summer. Time to enjoy long days, lazy nights, and great food. Because Uber Eats has deals all summer long. So, when hunger strikes, don't sweat it. Delicious deals are just a tap away on Uber Eats. Enjoy all your favorite grocery items delivered straight to you. Get ice cream, soda, and snacks from your favorite stores like Wegmans and CVS and make the most of every moment. Now that sounds like a good summer. Order now on Uber Eats. Terms apply. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
Okay, we're back. So let's dive a little bit deeper into how you think social media has changed the pediatrician-parent dynamic, because I'm guessing it may not be as friendly as it was before.
It's tough because social media really does build a community, and it makes all those hard challenges of parenting more normal. So I absolutely think that parents should be on if they don't, especially if they don't have a close parenting group in person. But yes, it has made parenting more visible to each other and sort of performative. So there's a lot more pressure on parents. And then they bring that, I think, to the pediatric relationship, that there's this pressure to be the perfect parent. And, I'll tell you, here's my advice. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present. All it takes is being there. So that's a little bit of an aside. So we wanted to talk about social media. Parents definitely come in more anxious and afraid they're falling short because of what they see on social media. So we can talk about that. Yeah.
I do want to talk about that. So when you do see parents feeling anxious, and maybe because something they heard on social media, how do you support that anxiety? And then we can also talk about maybe redirecting them because they might be getting confused with some of the information they're seeing on social media.
It's so tough. There's all these, little meal kits and lunch prep, and everybody shows off how cute the lunches are that they're making for their kids. And so then parents think that they have to do that. Everything is so complicated. Parents are lonely. There's just so much pressure on parents right now, and we just really need to simplify. So when parents come in, it's a little worrisome, actually, the parents who come in and they have these like perfect meal kits set up for their kids, and they're sitting on the bed in my clinic exam room. And it's like, let's just get this more simple. And the complicated toys, or they could really just play with a cup.
I actually, as you were talking about the perfect meals, I literally thought about the meals I threw my kids today for lunch. And I'm like, so not Instagram worthy, but I remember in the beginning, I will say in the beginning, I was a lot more creative. And
right, like the cookie cutters.
I never did the cookie cutters, but I used to like put a sticky in there, like, hope you're having a good day, love you. And now it's like, I put out a few Tupperwares, I'm like, blop, 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 blop. Here it is, in there, bye, get out the door. But it's definitely changed. So I'm curious. I'm sorry, yes.
This reminds me that you should never be on social media in front of your child. Like that we can talk about.
Yeah.
Get the phones out of their space. Like they should never see you on your phone. Like I absolutely think that parents can take those breaks, but you need to be away from your child. Do it in the toilet room,
So let me talk to you a little bit about being a parent. So you did give your perspective, which I really appreciate, as a pediatrician. As a parent, where do you fall in this about maybe it would be different because you do have that medical background, but do you feel like sometimes you get influenced from some social media things and then you have to check yourself?
Wow. I'm just going to free form here, but I was at a conference yesterday. There were 50 women and we were all sitting and they asked us a few questions about being a spouse and about being a parent. And it was along those lines. And there were questions like, do you ever feel like there's an imbalance of power in your relationship with your partner raising your kids? And everyone stood up but me. And so I think maybe there is something in my medical training that I'm not highly influenced by other people.
Nice.
So I think I'm that rare person, but let's all be strong. Let's all just stick to our ethics and our morals and say, you know what, this is what's right for my family and for my child. And we have family dinners. We sit down and have family dinners. I don't care if Caleb's family, doesn't, but that's what we do in our family. I think that's okay. In our family, we don't have social media until we are 18. That's fine. Make your boundaries and stick to them. Did that answer your question?
It really did. And I actually appreciate you just being so forward with that. So how old are your kids?
Well, so I think I've got it easy. My kids are now 18 and 23. They're like not children anymore. So, I guess that's why I can say now that the things I did right, be a very strong directive parent before the age of 5. Let your children know what their boundaries are. And I swear to you, you will not even have to parent after age 5. They will just be wonderful humans who can self-regulate.
I have not had that experience.
I don't know how I did it, but my kids have been fantastic.
We're not there. I've got a 13 and 11-year-old and we're getting better, but we're certainly not there. So how can pediatricians help guide parents towards evidence-based, trustworthy resources?
It starts with your pediatrician, I think. We're a human. And one of the challenges about anything that you read online is that it's not personalized information. So any advice you read online, they don't know your child. And your doctor does and the parent does. So I would definitely start there. There is, as you know, so much information out there in blogs and websites and social media. It's truly impossible to get to the bottom of it. The other thing I'll say is that if you were talking about evidence-based information, it's so funny. My father, I love him so much. He, in the olden days, they'd cut articles out of the newspaper and mail them to you.
My mother does that sometimes still.
Okay, still, yeah. So he sends me electronic version of that all the time. And literally everything he sends me about pediatrics, I'm like, yeah, I knew that a year ago. So we get information way before it hits the media, so we're always going to be ahead on what's in the evidence before it's going to hit mainstream media.
So if someone is looking and they want to find evidence-based information, you did say American Academy of Pediatrics. Do you have any others that when they're reading something and maybe it's cited, because like you did say, and I totally agree that if you have a point of view, you can likely find something to substantiate that. Are there other places that you feel if someone really wants, this is kind of the gold standard? Like, again, you said American Academy of Pediatrics, where, and I always went like CDC, World Health Organization. Those were kind of some of my, for obstetric stuff, I did the Cochrane Review.
Absolutely.
What are some of your favorites? Maybe those were, maybe I named them.
Yeah, you did. You absolutely did. I've actually, this is horrible of me to say, I've been really happy with ChatGPT.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been sort of testing it out. I'm like, wow, he's right. I mean, he's like my best friend. I don't even know that's a he, but anyway. And especially if you can use AI, any of the AI tools, I would stay away from the one on Google. It's not great. But ChatGPT itself, honestly, if you ask your health question there and then you say, also let me know how certain you are that this is true, it will give you a percentage. It will say, this is
really?
It'll say, I am 99% sure this is true. And these are my sources. I use UpToDate, which is a very expensive database, but you can always ask your physician to help you walk through UpToDate.com. I think it's a .com. I don't know.
This might be controversial, but are there any that you recommend people staying away from?
I don't think I would know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay. We will just leave it at that. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, what is one final tip or piece of advice you'd like to offer new and expectant parents? We'll be right back.
The McDonald's snack wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch snack wrap. Spicy snack wrap. You broke the internet for a snack. Snack wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Okay, we are back. So what is one final tip or piece of advice you'd like to offer new and expectant parents? And you can share this as both a parent or a doctor or either or.
I think I have 3. Number 1 is going to be trust your instincts. If your gut is telling you that you're just not sure, that you want to stick with the medical plan that your doctor has laid out, take a pause and ask more questions in a curious way. Always be kind to yourself. Remember, parenting is not just a single, one test. It's like a marathon. So be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. My second tip is to build a relationship with a pediatrician that you trust. And it's okay if you need to meet a few before you really find one you like. And it's okay to see one doctor and then run it by your trusted pediatrician if you can't get in to see them.
Can I ask a follow-up on that one?
Yeah.
Because this is kind of fascinating. And I am pulling a little to the side, but it is go back to finding the pediatrician you trust. And we talked a little bit about finding a pediatrician. Are there any red flags someone should be aware of? Like, do your spidey senses go up about when someone is looking for a pediatrician to trust?
Yeah, you know what comes to mind when you ask that? Because I would say the majority of pediatricians are like wonderful humans. I mean, no one becomes a pediatrician if they're not a wonderful human. And it is nearly impossible to get into medical school and get through residency. So anyone who's willing to do all of that, you can pretty much trust. However, there is a pediatrician in Orange County, California, who is very, very popular. He has his own vaccine schedule. And it's very concerning that he did lose his license for a bit. And so I would really watch for that, because that is a red flag. So I'd watch
How
for
would
that.
you know if somebody lost their license?
You can search on the American Board of Pediatrics website. You can just literally see the history of someone's license. Very easy, abp.org.
All right. So this is, I did not know this. So I thought once you lost it, you don't get it back. So if someone
you can be on probation. You can, and you can lose it and get it back. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I really do trust all my doctors, but I do think I'm going to search everyone.
Just to check.
I did not know that. This is something that I bet every parent now is like, all right, let's look that up. All right. So I
would say it does not raise a red flag if a doctor has been sued, because we have literally all been sued. I mean, people are crazy. So if a doctor is sued and they subsequently lose their license, that's concerning. But if they have a lawsuit against them, don't worry about it. No biggie.
Okay. So that was kind of a little sidestep to point 2. You had 3. Okay. What's number 3?
Just remember that you do not have to be perfect. You yourself being present are enough.
Oh, that is a really important one. Thank you. So where can people find your work?
My podcast, The Pediatrician Next Door, is fabulous for parents. I bring information that you didn't even know you needed to know.
Yeah, I actually have listened to it, and I've been on it. So I'll
yes, it's fabulous. I have the best guests.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is actually why I reached out to you when this topic came across my screen, literally. And I'm like, Wendy, that is who I shall speak to about this. So thank you so much.
Did I answer all your questions?
I think you did. Is there anything that you want to add that I didn't do? But I think we did. But is there anything still lingering?
No, we're good.
Yeah. And then, of course, everyone go watch The Pit. Let me know what you're thinking.
Exactly.
I'm so obsessed with that show, by the way.
It is so accurate. It's extremely accurate to the point that they walk down the halls and wash their hands all the time. It's exactly how we are. Everything about that show is spot on.
I was actually watching that thinking, oh, they must have the driest hands. They're constantly washing their hands. I'm like, where's the moisturizer?
Yes. Our sad cuticles. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Wendy. I really appreciated this.
Thanks, Deb.
This has been an episode of Yoga Birth Babies, produced by Prenatal Yoga Center. You can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope. I'm Deb Flaschenberg. Thanks for listening.